What's up guys, and welcome to the last episode in the Games Changers series. Seems like a very long time ago when we had a crazy idea to build two cars, become a professional drift team, and try and do it all in 1 year. And we learned an awful lot in that 1 year. We learned probably more than we thought we would, and we learned a lot of good things, bad things. We had some ups, we had some downs, we had some ins and outs, some successes and some failures. And I thought it was a good idea to come to the end of the series and maybe just chat about what we've learned, what our future plans are, and kind of, give advice back to people who might be thinking about doing the same. We jumped into this at the start and we always were very transparent with you guys right from the start of the project, kind of letting you know how things were going, and now we're rounding it up at the end of it. It's probably a good time as any, just after the last round of the British Drift Championship, to let you guys know what we thought of the whole process. So let's go way back to start with. So we go way back to almost a year ago now, where we decided we were going to do this project. So we were deep in the middle of the coronavirus. We weren't even in the middle. We thought we were in the middle. We turned out to be not even in the middle. And we said we were going to make this project. So we said we would throw all our eggs in one basket, build these two cars, and become a professional drift team. How hard can it be?
We ate those words.
It's some money. All we needed was some money. So we got the money, we took a loan from the bank, and we started on our process. Now what we learned very quickly, and I think the build process taught us a lot about, money doesn't make everything easy. So
No.
even if you have the budget to go and get all the parts, I think a lot of people who've never built drift cars will think, but sure, you have all the money there, you just buy all the parts, you pay the guys to put it together, and the car just goes pa-boom.
Which is what we thought as well.
Which is what we very much thought. That is not the case. No matter how much money that you throw at something, especially building a car, it doesn't equate for success. You need time.
And it's also, whatever your budget is, slowly goes way over the budget.
Realistically, if I was being honest, the retail on both of these cars to finish them would be about 140,000 euros, what we're calculating. There was a couple of things that's at the start that was an issue. Number one is we were in the middle of a lockdown, so we couldn't travel as easily as we wanted to. We couldn't pick up parts as easily as we wanted to. A lot of the companies that we wanted to get parts were on like 3-day weeks or low staff, or they didn't have the materials. A lot of the raw materials weren't there, so there was a lot of delays there. The other side of it was Brexit happened at exactly the same time. So everything that we thought would cost, say, €1,000 ended up costing 1,200 euro because of the taxes.
It's essentially the same as bringing something in from America.
Exactly,
Customs.
which I also was doing a lot of at the time.
I was going to say there was no break for you.
So when we were doing budgets at the start, the things I would advise people straight away to do when they're pricing up parts is account for the shipping, and the bigger the item, the larger the shipping, and account for customs, because those two things you don't put into your initial budget. You just say, you look at the website and say, that part is €1,000, and by the time you've shipped it, and by the time you've paid customs, it could be €2,000. And I think what would also happen is that the delay in paying the customs, a lot of our time went into trying to clear customs, see where our parcels had gone. Some got lost, some still haven't turned up at this stage. We've chased a lot of them down. So that was probably the toughest part at the start, was the fact that we couldn't travel easily to go collect parts ourselves, and all of the shipping companies were absolutely having to fit because of Brexit and the coronavirus. So that was probably more of a situational thing than anything else. Nothing we could really do.
Hopefully anyone going on from this point won't have that problem.
Yeah, so it was probably a poor time to do it, was during all those things happening. The second thing we realized was that it's a very slow, laborious project when you're building cars, because you think you order a part, and the famous phrase from the series we use is bolt on.
I think when a car guy says something's bolted in, it doesn't necessarily mean bolted.
You just had to re-modify the whole back of the car. Bolton, sure.
I am not having a good one.
This way I wish I carry around like a GoPro strapped to my head, and we had a conversation this time last week. You're like, it'll all just bolt together. It's made for a Corvette.
David, you did say that. You said it's a Bolton.
It is literally described as, that's what you need.
And I replied, not anymore. It's a race car. They don't go together. It just doesn't happen.
And you don't account for the time it takes to sit down and figure out a problem, or the time it takes that you order a part, then you have to go find an alternate part, and you've got to go do the research. And I remember at the start of building the Corvette, buying the car was like a 3-day process to get the car, but to actually plan out what I wanted to do with the car took nearly 2 or 3 weeks, because by the time I was trying to add everything together, do the budgets, I think version 72 now of the budget is where we're at. That was a big part of it as well. And the other part of it is I realized very quickly, especially when Ryan came in to start building the cars, is that not everything arrives at the same time. Like if we were sitting there with all of the parts for both cars on the ground, you could easily move through them. But a lot of the time we were stuck waiting almost weeks and months for parts to come back.
I would say the problem is we would start a job, realize that we needed a part, and you needed that part to carry on with the job. So we needed it now, and you can't get parts now.
No.
So sometimes you're waiting a week, so then you kind of got to work around that onto something else. And Ryan would be on a job that would take a week to do. But obviously, if he's doing one job on the cars in a week, we will only have one episode because it won't be interesting. It'd be a very slow moving episode. So we had to decide to go to all these other places, which is essentially not that important for the build. We were going up to Cork, to Darren's, we were going to James's, we were going down to Powley's, TH Components, just to kind of fill up the episodes and showing you guys like the process around it, which wasn't necessarily crucial to the build, but it also, in an entertaining way, we had to keep the series entertaining, so we had to travel to these places to keep up the episodes, essentially.
Yeah, keep it entertaining for you guys watching. But what I really wanted to say is the positivity that we saw at the start of the series was definitely what kept us going, because it was like -2 in the shed at nights. You see this? Shreds video. Just remind everyone that all these YouTubers in America, in Florida and in California, yeah, we're in 1 degree here at the moment. We were having our own debates and our own problems getting stuff done, but we had such support from everybody in the comments, everybody on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, willing us on, which was, I think, kept us going at times.
I think it was a bizarre time of everyone was kind of locked in, and we felt like this was our home for the 6 to 9 months, however long it was. Like, a lot of people said that we kept them going, but you guys also kept us going.
For sure.
It was like a weird kind of
partnership.
Yeah, partnership between the audience and us doing stuff.
And then, to be honest, with our partners that came on board for the project at the start, we couldn't have asked for better people to be involved with. Our 4 main sponsors, Morefield Motors, Mobile One, Link ECU, and Strom Wheels. Those guys were in before we started even
an idea,
before we even had the cars bought, so they really bought into the idea of it. And then we obviously wanted to do things faster and quicker and better to give them as much reward as we could, but they understood that it was a difficult time, that it was quite slow for us, that we couldn't get everything done exactly as we wanted, and they were so supportive through the whole year. It's been unbelievable, because those companies, not only do they give us the funding to be able to go and do what we do, but they have a personal relationship with us where we know them, via first name basis. We have brought them to shows, we've had a few drinks with them, that kind of stuff. And I think that's a big part of drifting, is that team element. And we definitely felt our partners were a team with us, trying to will us on, help us whatever way they could. And then what I thought was even more crazy was the amount of partners that we gained as we started. So people
was the most bizarre thing.
People would just contact us and say, hey, we're watching the series, you should try out our product. The likes of Drift HQ, the like of Grassroots Performance, Group D, Darren on the phone, me 12 o'clock at night sometimes going through technical stuff on the car. We could not have asked for any more help or any more support than we got to actually make the cars happen. And for the guys that were physically building the cars, and the 3 main people, I would say Ryan, Wayne and Bob, who definitely put in the most amount of hours on the cars, they were going through the same struggles we were going through in terms of travel, in terms of getting parts on time, trying to balance their own businesses, which is like they can't put their business to the side. And I think
we were an inconvenience.
Very much in the case of Ryan and Wayne, both of those guys, through their own personal lives and their business life, had to put a lot of that on the shelf just to get us to the finish line. And the team effort, or also our project became our partners' projects, became our families' projects, became our friends' projects, and became everybody working. So everybody was pushing towards these 2 cars to be finished on time. And the thing about it is that cars are not just the simplest of things, especially if we were building 2 2JZ S15s that were very similar cars. One problem would solve a problem on both cars, but both cars had such unique individual problems that nobody could move any faster. Everything would hit a roadblock, then there would be a lot of thinking, then there would be trying and error and all that. And I think, if we were building just 2 professional drift cars to go and try and compete, and we didn't build them just because we wanted to have cars that we loved, and we really believed in, that was a big part of it for us, was that we wanted the cars to represent our personalities.
To be unique,
and also what we like, not just because that's the most competitive chassis out there, we're going to build that. That would have been so much easier. And a lot of the time during the build, we thought maybe we should have just built 2 2JZ S15s.
And James actually started halfway through us doing our series, And what did he do it in 4 weeks or something?
4 or 5 weeks. But again, James was building a car he'd already built before, so he knew everything that would work and fit. We were still scratching our heads, you know, even down to the final week or two before the dyno. Both cars were absolutely a nightmare. But the Corvette went through pretty much unscathed. Oh my God. The MX-5, on the other hand, a few problems. We had a lot of problems.
It says low oil pressure again.
So you think when you take all of that stuff out of one car that works absolutely fine and put it into another car, it'll work absolutely fine. It turns out everything broke. So we had the turbo go on the dyno, we replaced that. Then we took it to testing and it dropped the oil pressure, the oil pump exploded. Which we've never seen before. And all of those issues weren't down to who was building it or assembling it or any parts. It was just silly, weird problems it was like it was throwing every weird problem at us. And that means that the car, of course, at that point, we moved into a different part of the project. So both cars were finished. We didn't get to BDC with the MX-5, we did with the Corvette. We had a good weekend in the Corvette. It performed, everything was great. We had no issues, things were okay. We thought, okay, one car is a problem, the other one now we'll fix, or the other one's going good. At that point, we started to get very, very busy with other work that was going on. So we had run out of money, essentially, at that point. So what I ended up doing, because of the cars being so expensive, a lot of people were saying, well, if the cars are so expensive, why are you out buying all these other cars? Every car that you saw me sell or buy throughout this entire process, I made some money, not major money on everything, but it was going straight back in to between the raffle on the Golf van, between the E21, I mean, there was an RX-7, there was an S14, there was so much other stuff that was other cars that have come and gone, the SOAR.
The RX-8.
The RX-8, which didn't even last very long. All of that money, we bought the RX-8, I was gonna go do some seat time, then we had more problems. Clutch is like 3,000 euro in the Corvette, RX-8's gone. And eventually those cars just ate everything around them as it went along.
We had essentially spent the budget and we had two cars that weren't working. So essentially you had two really expensive paperweights.
Yeah.
And you can't give up at that point because it's completely pointless to the series, it's completely pointless
But you're
to the
also so
sponsors.
invested in the cars with the money you've spent that if you're 5% away from finishing them, you have to find that 5% because...
Well, it's like the turbo going on mine, completely over budget at that point, and then the turbo goes, and technically you just want to park it up and say, right, it's done, we don't have any money, but you can't give up at that point. It's not even an option to really give up at that point. So.
And at that point, the only way we could try and get more budget to go to the events and finish the cars was two ways. One was flipping the cars. Two was all of you guys being amazing and picking up the merch in the shop. That was a really big help at times this year, and especially at the live events, whoever picked up our merchandise at those, that was literally budget that went straight back into the cars again.
Straight back in.
And then also Josh and I had to start doing work outside of drift games. We were flat out doing stuff we did some stuff for BMW, we did some stuff for Mondello Park, we were doing lots of different projects with Drift Masters and other stuff to try and not to justify our wages. Obviously we have to go and earn those wages now because Drift Games has already eaten them. So now we got to go justify it in the other parts of our business, and then we had less time. So time was a big problem then. So we were working a full week of work, if not 60 hours a week, on other things, and then trying to come in and film 2 vlogs and get vlogs out. And
it was a hectic time.
Buy and sell cars and get the cars ready. And what we realized also was that, and I'm sure a lot of you guys will talk about it, then we had a switch. We thought we're going to get back to events, we're going to get back to stuff. We started the cars in last October, maybe January, February, we'll be back on point again. It took until August, late August, before we started seeing reality or normality come back again with shows and stuff like that. So once we had that normality come back, the biggest thing that I noticed at that point was seeing the people in real life. And I think another thing for me and Josh that was so bizarre was that we were never the people in front of the camera as a brand.
Well, you were more than me.
Maybe more so I was in commentary and Drift Masters, but you were never the driver, the build, or the YouTube guy. You were always promoting something else.
Yeah.
So and Josh would have spent 8 years promoting other drivers, other series, other people, and they were the focus. So I might be there interviewing someone, but they're the star, they're the person. I'm not going to go as far as to say we're stars, by no means.
No.
But for people to come up and be interested in us it was awkward for us because we were like, usually it's the event or the people or whatever, but when it was actually us and people were so interested in it, it was really humbling. I thought it was really
very surreal, overwhelming kind of feeling.
And then as we started getting to events and started getting stuff, things started getting better. We started being able to do some demos in the Mustang and the MX-5. We were able to do some more events. We're trying to balance running events, you know, running all these different parts of our business, doing drift games, doing the cars. It was just intense. And I think now this is the first time, I think, since we started the project, we've actually sat down today and looked behind us at the cars we have, looked at the situation we're in and gone, we're really fortunate to be in this situation. We didn't even have time for a second to look back and see what we had done because everything was like panic, next day, next thing, next event. You never get time to look back.
I think the bizarre thing was, it was only last weekend at BDC where I got to appreciate the car, because up until then it's always been a problem, and then once it's done, it's like it's bizarre. Like there's very small ups when you're actually building a car, because usually there's negatives and problems and you're solving stuff and money and everything like that, and it's heartbreaking. But it's kind of, you're doing it all for kind of one up at the end, and
Yeah.
that was literally after almost a year.
Yeah.
That's the only time I kind of got that up.
I think a lot of people, what I would say is giving advice back to people who want to follow in our footsteps, which I'm not sure is a good thing or a bad thing.
If you watch the series, it's not the best idea.
But I think one of the things that I will say is that you have to be super committed. It's not something, and I think it's given us a far bigger appreciation for the top level drivers, because those top level drivers, the amount of commitment, a lot of people think, oh, they just have money and sponsors and that's all the problem there is. No amount of money makes it easier, because you have to put so much time, energy and effort, but also you got to look at the pressure that you're under then because of that time, money and effort. So the more time you put in, the more money, the more people, the more partners, the more sponsors, the more fans, the pressure that starts to build on you to perform at those events, it takes it away from a bit from the fun element. Because, for example, Josh, he probably won't admit this himself, but he's probably the best known drifter that's never done anything. So, for example, he goes to an event, it's only his second or third event ever, but so many people know who he is and expect him to do well because he has a very expensive car, because of all this.
But that's something that I felt myself, and I'm not ashamed to kind of say it. It's like, yes, I have been given a very fortunate situation with one of the best cars on the grid, in the Pro-Am grid anyways, and that does come with a bit of pressure. Like, a lot of eyes are on us, so all those people are kind of, they're rooting for us at the same time, but at the end of the day, it's embarrassing, especially from my perspective, if you don't qualify or you don't do well or you spin or you make a tit of yourself. Like, it runs a lot more pressure than what I would say for the average person starting.
And also, I think if you look at it from what you're putting out there, I said it at the start of the video, transparency. We show you all the runs that we mess up on. So most drivers will come to the end of a weekend, pick their best couple of runs out, throw that out on social media saying, here's me doing this great or that great.
Close to me having a meltdown.
I want to f***ing do it! I want to... I'm gonna cry. This is f***ing ridiculous.
You know that people are watching and critiquing. And I think one of the things that we were also very naive about during this whole process is how difficult it is to be a very good drifter. Not in terms of just the car or the money or the transport or anything, but just the actual ability and skill to actually be committed to it and committed to every corner and smooth under pressure, being able to take down battles and all that. That takes a lot. And I think
Forgot about that part.
that part we definitely didn't hit over this year. Some of it was down to the fact that the cars didn't work. Some of it was down to the fact that we were so obsessed with building them that we didn't think about driving them. And another part of it was probably down to the cost of testing versus going to the events.
Well, I think that's the problem with, I always say I come from a skateboarding background, and skateboarding, you can go for a year on the same skateboard if you really want to and practice every single day as much as you want. Whereas drifting, like, a set of wheels is the same amount as a skateboard. So the cost to actually practice is just ridiculous in comparison.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that we want to sort of wrap up at the end of this is that we are aware of our own mistakes also sometimes because of you guys. It's because you guys will tell us you need more seat time, you need this, or you're making a mistake there. So what I've enjoyed sometimes is, of course people will be very negative at times, but I did feel overall people are like sort of constructive criticism. They're saying change this, change that. We've had so many messages of people watching our onboard. What way to set the car up, how to warm the front tires, how to transition. what part of the track what to do, and then wish me good luck. Then I crashed into the wall, but then I got a 93. So thank you, Matt Field, amazing. We've had amazing help behind the scenes of trying to get better. And I think that brings a nice end to this series to say, you know, we couldn't have done this last year without you guys watching. We couldn't have done this year without you guys picking up merch in our shop, you know, coming to the merch shop at events, saying hello. That's been an amazing help to us. We definitely couldn't have done it without the partners. We definitely couldn't have done it without amazing friends. And I think that's the thing. We had Ryan and Wayne and Bob and all these guys helping us, and Darren and everyone else from the behind the scenes. So many places. And we are not that technically minded, so we're frustrating to those people when they're trying to explain to us that it doesn't just bolt on. It takes a week to do that. But what I do appreciate is their patience, their enthusiasm, and their commitment to us to try and get us to where we need to be. And without them, we'd be nothing. We still would be nothing without the people around us.
Shells.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing we've learned is that it's not money that makes you a great drifter. It's a great team around you. It's a great support from your family, friends, and the people who are your fans online. That is what makes you a great drifter, along with a lot of practice. So money, as most people will always talk about, is the most familiar thing for people to talk about. I have money, so someone else spends money. I know what that is relatively. But it's not just about money. It does help, and you do need it, but it's not the only thing that makes it a success. And I think one of the big things we've learned from this year is that we have an amazing team, we have amazing partners, we have amazing fans, but we aren't amazing drivers. And that's where we need to change the biggest amount. I think at the end of this stage now, when we look behind us, we have a massively competitive two cars. The Corvette is massively able to win a championship in Europe. The MX-5 is well able to win a Pro-Am championship. But the two morons here are not good enough. And I think that's something that a lot of people, we're very self-aware of that. We will say, we're not good enough. We could go and plow more money into the cars, but that's not what's causing the problem. The problem is us not being good enough as drivers.
I think you said it earlier, if there was a Dwayne McKeever or James Dean were to jump in either of those cars, they would be able to win the event.
So a lot of you guys will be wondering, what's next for Drift Games? Well, we have a massive announcement coming on the next video. So next Tuesday, we will be announcing the next series. And it is not about building any more cars, because we've realized that's not going to help us. And it's not just about doing loads of practice days and trying to just work our way slowly to becoming better drivers. We need to be better drivers fast, because those cars, if we go back out next season and we're not good enough in them, we're going to have a miserable time. So the big news is coming on the next video. The one thing I will say is, however, we need to update a few people on certain things. One is we won't be competing at this year's Irish Drift Championship. However, we will be doing a full season next year. The reason we're not competing in the Irish Drift Championship this year is because of this big announcement and making that tough call. We will be at IDC to support Kieran and all the guys that are running it. We will be watching on, but we will be ready to go next year. And the reason we're going to be ready to go next year and compete for those championships is because of this announcement next Tuesday. We will also be a couple of weeks away from releasing our 2022 cars, and they are not going to look absolutely anything like they look now. So we've challenged ourselves about a month and a half ago with coming up with the wildest liveries we could possibly put on the cars. We have a brand new merch range coming out at the start of November, which is just in time for Christmas, and we're going to do some like mystery boxes. We've got a whole new range. We've got loads of prizes we're giving away to try and give back as much to you guys who help us on this channel and keep us, keep us going and keep us motivated. And we really want to, bottom of our hearts, say we appreciate absolutely everybody that's been involved in this for a year. It's been an emotional roller coaster. We've learned a lot about ourselves, about the people around us, but most importantly, we've learned that there's a lot of good people in the world, and if you get those good people around you, you're going to have a good time. And the fairness to us, we have been at each other's throats a lot behind the camera over the last year, but we're still talking to each other, so it must be a good thing, and we're still planning big things for the future. But as always, we started a season called Games Changers, and I think we did in some ways change the game for people that wanted to learn about how to become professional drifters. We gave it a hell of a go. Did we succeed? I'd say we succeeded about 50%.
Yeah.
But now we're not going to take that as a well done, pat on the back. We're going to go and try and do even bigger things to get us to where we need to be. And that's what you're going to find out about next Tuesday. So thanks for listening to this very long ramble with cutaways that we've put together. But it was nice to round up everything. I want to thank everybody who's supported us. And yeah, we're going to do you guys proud. We're going to actually take it seriously, become better drivers. And hopefully by the time we start next season with this crazy plan we have, which we'll let you guys know on Tuesday, which I think is also a first for anybody, any professional driver in Europe. I don't think they've ever done this before. pretty sure they've never done this before. So yeah, we're going to go a different route than everybody else, and we're going to let you guys know what that is on the next episode. So thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next vlog, which will be all about our new plans, and we can't wait to share them because we're kind of getting one of those things now where we don't like keeping secrets.
We just want to get it out.
We just want to get it out and let you guys know, and then we can all get excited about it together. So thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next episode, and it's going to be a very exciting one.